Our world undergoes constant change in an endless evolution. An evolution made out of theory and practice, two essential mechanisms complementing each other, the engines of knowledge. That's how Bocconi was born, from a two-sided story, from thought and action. Two poles, one single movement, a movement that pushes us forward. Visionary thoughts coming to life. Ideals turning into ideas. Where others see complexity, we see motivation. To always think big, to create something even bigger. Because it's in our DNA to shape leaders who make a difference on business, society, and people. Not only tomorrow's thinkers, but also today's game changers. Bocconi, knowledge that matters.
Well, good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Bocconi. It's really a great pleasure to be here and to welcome all the Master of Science students who are starting their program today. And it's really a pleasure to see you, to see some of you here. Well, first of all, let me congratulate. You have succeeded in obtaining a place in our Master of Science, and this is a great achievement. In fact, we received many applications, and the selection process was really tough. Congratulations, but today is it's a great achievement, but it's only your starting point. In fact, you are at the very beginning of a new adventure, which I'm certain will be very important for your future career and for your personal growth. This is a very peculiar welcome, as you can see. It's a welcome meeting organized in a blended way with some students on campus here and others connected online in streaming. In fact, we have decided to adopt a blended model for our current semester based on lectures and activities both online and in presence. Digital technologies have allowed us to innovate our teaching model and to be inclusive with all Bocconi enrolled students, even if they are not in Milan yet. We have been working a lot on this new teaching model, both on technology equipment and professor competencies. However, this model will require a lot from you. We require participation, we require commitment, and above all, let me say, flexibility. Flexibility due to the uncertainty and the unpredictability of the situation we have been living, and that is going to continue. And let me say that it may be possible that we have to switch online for a while, and then come back in presence, and then go back again online and in presence. But we have thought to these options, and we are ready to manage all of these, but we want to ask you to be part of this process with your flexibility and with your commitment. And again, behave safely, because it depends on our behavior to be here again all together, or to face some difficulties. Well, but coming back to your Master of Science programs, the next 2 years will be tough. You will have to study a lot, to be very focused on your education path. Your experience will be made up of courses, exams, for sure. But Bocconi will offer you much more than that. And my fundamental suggestions for you today is that I recommend that you take advantage, full advantage of all the opportunities that Bocconi will offer you. And this extraordinary experience is starting now, and with our welcome event. We have the chance to have with us our rector, Professor Gianmario Verona, and I am really honored to have also Ms. Silvia Candiani, Microsoft Italy Chief Executive Officer, who will deliver the keynote speech. Now, I wish you to enjoy this event, and I leave the floor to our rector, Gianmario Verona.
Good evening to you all, guys. It is really a privilege to welcome you also on behalf of my dear friend Riccardo Taranto, the Managing Director of Bocconi University, here in this wonderful campus. And it's a great pleasure also to welcome all the people that are watching us via streaming for the first time, I would say. Some of you can't be with us today, but might be able to be with us in the next weeks and months. As Dean Carù was saying, we are living very special times, and I would like to say that you are writing history. Because in these days, let me tell you, and it's not a case that we have such a privileged keynote speaker tonight, we are really reconfiguring most of the sectors of the industries because of digital technology. And this year, again, this pandemic simply brought us into a different level, a different league. And what we did in the last 6 months at Bocconi University was an experimentation that we can finally bring to the ground in the next weeks. So, as Dean Carù was saying, clearly lots of flexibility. We have to be patient sometimes, but we are really experimenting the future, because what we have designed for you is something that will keep with us independently of the pandemic. As a matter of fact, our Bocconi 2030 strategic plan has included a lot of this interaction between the physical mode, which has been the quintessential mode since university was born almost 1,000 years ago, and this new way of interacting, which is so much powerful, because we have learned in the last 6 months that you can do a lot of things, not simply streaming, but you can do with digital technology beautiful things that particularly in the fields of social sciences are very important. So patience, but also the opportunity of, let's say, in a major tragedy which we have lived, particularly in this city, in Lombardy, also the opportunity to do something very different for the future. And so you will be really the people that with us will try to make the difference for the next weeks, but specifically for the next 2 years, so that when you will be finished with your Master of Science, we are sure you will find a decent place in the society, not only for being great executives, great policymakers, but also to impact the society, which is something very important. Just 3 messages for you tonight, because I want to leave the floor very fast to Silvia Candiani. The first message is that never ever forget that you are in a wonderful place. And this place is wonderful, not only because it's been there for 120 years, but because for 120 years we have done just one thing, and we have expanded it across the disciplines that were very close to the thing that we started with, which was economics. Bocconi does 5 things, as you know very well, from the curriculum of your Master of Science: does economics, does law, does, of course, data science and computer science, in these days very important, does political science, and of course, does management. Now, whatever you will be doing in the next 2 years, in terms of study, it's very important that you never forget that these other 4 fields are very close to yours. And you have to try to engage yourself in learning many things. Because, again, as the pandemic demonstrated to us, it's very important to understand the world not only vertically with your discipline, but also horizontally, with the power and the potential of all the competencies that are very close to this. We have a number of professors that will be close to you, starting from the directors of the program, and starting, of course, from all the responsible of each course that will support you in this, let's say, navigation throughout the different curriculum. But at the same time, it's very important also that you take the opportunity to also watch out the classroom. So not simply watch inside the classroom, but watch outside the classroom, because there are a number of things that we do in these days, particularly online, but in general, things that will strengthen your competence and will make you better persons in terms also of, let's say, solidity of the things that you can do. So it's very important that you start well from the academic side, but you do not underestimate the opportunities that you have around you. And again, these opportunities not necessarily are only within the field that you have chosen. The second important message that I would like to convey you is that being a citizen in this society, which is becoming so much complicated, things about what's happening, not only because of the pandemic, but this was something that we saw already some of the seeds 5-10 years ago, with all the problems related to sustainability, with all the problems related to the big divide in terms of rich and poor people within each nation and between nations. So basically, it's very important also that you will spend the next 2 years also to consolidate and to corroborate your values. And Bocconi tries to do that, of course, and it's very important that your behavior also complies with the rules that we have created together and which belong to our identity and to our history since the very beginning. And it is so crucial that you try to comply with that, not only because this is part of our honor code, and so it's very important to be responsible because of that, but because we believe that a future manager like the one that we have tonight as a representative alumna of what Bocconi has done in its history is important not only because it's a great profession, but because can impact the society positively. So this is something that you have never to forget, and you have to nurture with the values that you have brought on campus in these days, but also with the things that you will learn in the future. And related to this, it's very important to not forget the moment we are living. And so this is a prayer that both Riccardo and I convey to you, because these days are very complicated, and only, positive and regular behavior will help us, take away the risk of potential, of course, micro lockdowns within a single class, within a major curriculum, or within the campus. So try not only to respect all the rules that we have created with all the protocols. Consider that there are people that, of course, have not done vacation during the summer, because worked hard to make all the operations working and to write down all the specific protocols that will formalize and characterize the behavior of professors and students on campus. But try also to be fair with your friends and with your mates and with your professors and staff also outside the campus. We'll try to monitor as much as we can on campus, but at the same time, please try to behave in a way which is consistent with the complexity of the times we are living for the next months, at least until we get a vaccine at the beginning of next year. A very final message, which goes back to our foundation. This university was created by an entrepreneur. I like to call this guy, using an analogy of these days, the Jeff Bezos of Italy back in the 19th century. He was a retailing entrepreneur. He was the guy that introduced the grandi magazzini, so the department stores, back in the 19th century. And this guy was so much frustrated at this point of his life, because basically he said, look, you have to learn a lot of things to do my job, but there is no one that teaches you how to do the job. Because at the time there were only engineers, medical doctors, And there were, of course, lawyers, because lawyers have always been there, and some of them, of course, are also here at Bocconi. Now, he decided to create the first economics and commerce degree in Italy, which, let me tell you, at that time was an innovation that was probably invented in different parts of the world. I'm thinking about Harvard Business School, for example, was created in 1908. Tax School of Business at Dartmouth in 1900. So it was really the years where people at some point in time decided to create administration as a sort of degree and a sort of legitimacy. Because becoming, of course, an administrator, becoming an entrepreneur was something very important. So this innovative foundation brought us to be very innovative across all these 120 years. And back to today, what is happening around us? Well, again, a company like Microsoft knows this very well. We are living the fourth industrial revolution. And there are a lot of opportunities for, of course, creating startups and for doing things that are different than in the past, because each single sector, again, has been reconfigured and will be reconfigured in the next years because of that. So my personal message, and let me quote the president of Harvard University back in 2008, is that I wish for you not to go and occupy a job at the end of your adventure as a Master of Science students, but to go inventing a job, because this is something very, very important for the future not only of your profession, but for the future of your country and possibly of the society in general. So my personal wish is to try also to think entrepreneurially at your Master of Science, and to also consider all the opportunities that we have created in the last couple of years at Bocconi University, because we have a beautiful accelerator that can support and invest on the ideas of the students in order to have startups created also in this portion of the world made by alumni of Bocconi. So again, try to be very responsible, try to be very flexible, try to be ambitious, try to study a lot, and try to become a great Bocconiano and Bocconiana for the rest of your days. So thank you very much and good luck for your next 2 years.
Grazie. Well, after this really inspiring speech and the history and the values of Bocconi, I'm really happy to introduce Silvia Candiani to you, our guest speaker. Silvia earned her degree in business administration from Bocconi University and the MBA from INSEAD. She started her career at McKinsey as a consultant in media and telco businesses, and then moved to Vodafone, where he headed consumer marketing in Italy. Then she joined Microsoft, where she was a general manager consumer and devices sales of Central and Eastern Europe. And prior to that, she was marketing and operation lead and consumer online general manager for Microsoft Italy. Finally, she was appointed CEO of Microsoft Italy, and as I read in her CV, with the aim of helping Italian companies embracing the digital transformation and its opportunities, and fostering a more inclusive and sustainable society in Italy thanks to innovation. And here you can find 4 keywords: digital transformation, innovation, inclusion, and sustainability. Keywords for the big challenges in our society. And we look forward to listening from her to how Microsoft has been facing these challenges. Under her tenure, I would like to give you some pieces of information about her job. Under her tenure, the company has developed many initiatives to accelerate the adoption of modern technologies among Italian public and private companies to increase their global growth and competitiveness. In 2018, Microsoft Italia launched the Ambizione Italia program, a collaborative platform focused on developing and strengthening digital skills to support employment and increase economic growth in the country. And thanks to her commitment, together with other partners, 500,000 people have already been trained on digital technologies in a year, focusing on students and teachers in disadvantaged areas. During her career, she's always demonstrated a strong commitment on diversity and inclusion. I think that this will be very interesting to listen from her, especially on increasing women's leadership in the corporate world in Italian companies and fostering partnership with associations and NGOs to leverage technologies with the aim to eliminate barriers and create a more inclusive society. Well, we are really proud to have Silvia Candiani here, outstanding manager, and let me say, a wonderful person, a really special woman. And at the end of her speech, you will have the extraordinary opportunity to ask her your questions. Silvia, the floor is yours. Thank you. La mascherina qui.
Thank you so much, and it's been a great introduction. Now I've really raised expectations. Now I am really proud to be here, also because, as Antonella Carù was saying, I graduated from here, and that's where everything started. And so for me, it's really somehow going back to square one and reflecting back on, somehow what's been my journey. And I'd like to share three main thoughts and, let's say, wishes that I can share with you to make this trip extraordinary and to make this experience extraordinary for you to build a successful career and hopefully a successful life. So maybe I'll share with you a little bit about my experience and then some of the learnings. As I said, it all started here. It didn't look like this, so I think you can feel very privileged to work in a campus like that. At the time, it was much smaller, but the experience remains the same. The quality of the teaching remains the same, and I remember the somehow excitement and somehow a little bit of anxiety that I had when I walked the first day across the two lions in the entrance in the main building. I think that the rector said something very important, that is, be curious and experience whatever you can during your time here at university, because really the experience comes from connecting the dots from different fields of expertise. That's what I did here. I studied a little bit finance. I majored in finance, but I also studied marketing, and it proved very interesting and very useful in the end for me. But then also I went to every possible speech or event on campus. And I also did my exchange program. I went to Wharton, and I did a semester there at the time we had this opportunity. I think really the point is try to understand what is your special talent and what makes you what makes you happy somehow. What are the areas where you'd like to develop your own impact and your own special talent somehow. And so really being curious and being able to try to understand what different jobs could look like and what could be the different experiences is super important. At the end of university, I joined McKinsey. To a certain extent, I wasn't really clear on what my field of expertise could be, and so I liked the idea that with McKinsey I could work on projects in different industries and try to really understand what made me tick. And I like the opportunity at McKinsey of really learning methodology, how to take a problem, dissect it in small pieces, and understand how to solve it. And I think that's a reflection which is important now, because with technology, with artificial intelligence, many, let's say, ordinary tasks will be automated. But what really is important is the creativity, is the understanding of complex problems, is the problem solving. So somehow strategy, creativity, and problem solving are even more important in the world of tomorrow. And the ability to, as I said, connect the dots across different fields of expertise, also with people that have very different experiences, coders, lawyers, finance experts, marketeers. And so the ability to work across teams that are very diverse, and also to grasp complex problems and put it down into pieces is very important. During that time, I also did my MBA at INSEAD, and I think that's also why I think that an international audience, an international team like yourself is very important to keep learning even more. After that, I joined Omnitel. For those of you who are not Italian, that might be new, it was an Italian startup at the time in the telco business, which grew very much, and then it was acquired by Vodafone and became part of the multinational, and it's now Vodafone Italy. I like this experience because somehow I joined a startup which was a very small team, less than 200 people, and during those 10 years it developed into the major telco operator in the country with more than 20 million customers. And I think that managing a company in those different phases requires very different skills. So when you are in a startup, it needs to be agile, you need to be more somehow aggressive and less structured. But then when you get into a very big business and a multinational, you need to put in place the right models and operating models and processes in order to manage also the complexity and the profitability. So I think that within one company, I somehow worked for many of them, and I enjoyed the fact that we were the challenger when we started, and when I left, we had become the #1 player in the market. Somehow, though, telco business during those years had become, at the end, somehow more business as usual, and I thought that the new innovation was coming from new frontiers, from tech. And that's why 10 years ago, I joined Microsoft, which is a very interesting company. Microsoft is the only tech company that was in the top 5 S&P 500 company 25 years ago, and is still now in the top 5 S&P 500 today. And it's interesting because it's been able to continuously reinvent itself and to be relevant at the heart of technology, both in 25 years ago, when it was all about putting a PC, a personal computer on every desk, to now when it's all about cloud and making sure that technology is at the center of every service and every product. But I will tell you a little bit more about Microsoft. I joined in Italy to manage the consumer business. Consumer for Microsoft is Xbox, Surface, consumer online, and so on. And then I went to manage an area for Microsoft, the consumer, which was at the Central Eastern Europe area. Here you can see a picture of Almaty in Kazakhstan, and I'm here with 2 customers actually. So it's a picture that I'm fond of because somehow they gave us a dinner of a horse meat, which was an interesting experience, also how to manage in these situations. why I'm telling you about Central Eastern Europe? Because I think that managing across international cultures is very interesting. And when I left for Central Eastern Europe, I still had memories when I was, from my childhood, of the Soviet Union, which didn't exist anymore, and of Yugoslavia, which then didn't exist anymore. So you learn about different countries, you learn how to manage people from different nationalities. I had in the same teams people from Russia, people from Ukraine. And so you can imagine some of the dynamics that were in the team. But in the end, it's all about setting a vision for transformation, for business growth, and then getting the best people to activate and to be motivated for going the extra mile and transforming the business. And I'm very proud to say that when I was leading Central and Eastern Europe, it became the #1 area for growth worldwide, which to a certain extent was certainly not the top of mind for us, because Central and Eastern Europe is much smaller than others. Then 3 years ago, I came back home and I became CEO of Italy. And I think that that is really important, because somehow I felt that I could give something back to my own country, and so to help contribute to the digital transformation of the country, of the society, of the business, and create an impact for us as citizens as well. And to be honest, the #1 thing that was noticed was that I was a woman, and that's a little bit sad in a sense that probably there are still so few women in CEO positions that the #1 thing that every media reported was, there is now a woman CEO in charge of Microsoft in Italy. And I'll come back to that, because of course this is something that I hope your generation will be able to change, because we are now, as women, about 50% of students in the university, and I think we should have about that same proportion in leadership positions in company. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Now, as I told you, Microsoft is a very interesting company. That's the market capitalization of Microsoft, and you can see that it's now 1.6 trillion. It's quite interesting because if you take the 5 tech companies all together and you sum up their capitalization, it amounts to about 25% of the total capitalization of the entire world. So for sure there is a strong concentration on those companies. So it's a great responsibility as well to make sure that this great power of technology can convert into great impact for the economy and for the society. Specifically, what happened is that the entire tech sector has become a much bigger share of GDP worldwide. That means that every product, every service now is a digital product. So even your car, your fridge, your whatever, even if it's very let's say practical like a car, 30% of the value added of a car is in its technology, the technology that it's on board. So that means that being able to be a great software, if you are a company, any company, a product and service company, you need to be a software company. And that has driven the demand for technology and for software, and therefore the growth in the capitalization of tech companies. Now, I think that Microsoft is quite different versus the other tech companies, because its ambition is to be a vector for change for other companies. So we decided not to have other business models, but our business model is to help companies or organizations to excel and to be at their best. So it's like we provide the tool set so that a company or organization can deliver its potential. And so I think that's really important, because we are not competing with our customers. We're not aiming to become a car company. We're not aiming to become a retailer. We're not using our customers' data to make money out of that through advertising. But we are really aiming to partner with companies, especially the B2B, let's say, to make them excel, to make them great. So for example, this meant that when I came to Italy, I tried to think, what can I do in order to make the Italian businesses excel in a worldwide competition? And for example, just to give you a sense, we worked with CNH. CNH is part of the FCA group, and we delivered the intelligent tractor. So for example, now people who work in farming need to find ways to be able to be more sustainable in the way they use the land, but also as there is a lot of competition between tractors that come from China and tractors that come from a developed market, we help this company to provide a better value to their customer, to the farmers, because not only do they deliver a tractor, but also an intelligent system to help the farmer to understand when it's the time to give additives in the land, or because there is a sensor on the tractor that whenever they work on the field, it can detect what's the status of the land, and then together with some artificial intelligence-enabled analysis, it can say when they need to seed and to add more additives in the field. The whole thing allows the farmer to get 30% more from the land versus with a normal tractor. So somehow it allows the farmer to get more value out of a high-end product. This is just an example to give you a sense of how a company that has always produced something very tangible, like a tractor, can become also a digital company. And also, what is the power of data and the power of artificial intelligence to make the data become insight. And that is also what we're doing, for example, with NAM and with DNI to allow them to become more sustainable and to reduce the impact on the environment all around us. But it's not only for the big companies. I'm very proud that this year, especially during the pandemic, we helped very small companies to survive really through the pandemic. For example, this is quite a famous winery in Tuscany. It's called Ciacci Piccolomini, who was able through Teams, through the video communication, to be in contact with buyers all around the world and be able to launch new wines and do the virtual wine tasting through digital technology. Or, and that's very dear to my heart given that we are in Milan, we helped the Camera Nazionale della Moda to promote the first, to create the first digital experience for catwalks and to create virtual reality experiences for, again, buyers understanding and buying from the fashion brands that we all love in order to still be able to go ahead even in a period of very strong disruption. But it's not only about the big companies or the small companies, it's also about the startups. As the rector was saying, I believe that we can be a vibrant digital ecosystem only if we have innovation coming from startups. So in these past 2 years, we collaborated, thanks to Microsoft for Startup, with different incubators to help startups get in touch with Microsoft technology to be conveyed through our marketplace in order to help startup growing, to grow faster and have more opportunity to find buyers and find solutions for their growth. And I think that really collaborating across university, tech companies, industrial companies to create this digital ecosystem is super, super important. But I think that one of the things that I'm most proud of is also the work on the public sector, health, and education, because we've all seen how those sectors were disrupted by COVID, and technology can do so much in order to deliver value to them. If we just think about, e-learning, but then also, for example, for the hospital, telemedicine, we can do triage before getting to the hospital. And we are getting to a point where we are also able to do prevention and to understand who among the public should take a specific test because it is more at risk for a certain disease. And I think that one of the areas that in Italy is more behind is really the public sector. If we think of what can be the impact of going to a digital judiciary system, for example, instead of having, Messo, which comes to your house to deliver a notification, you can get a certified email, and so on. So I think there is, in reality, a very strong opportunity to rethink how the public sector operates, and this could create really an engine for digital advancement also for the private sector, because we know how difficult it is for private companies to deal with the public sector, to get authorization, to get started as a company. And by the way, I think that given the amount of recovery funds that Italy has been granted, there will be a lot of investments in the area of digital health and modernization of the public sector, which we hope will deliver a more modern country and a more competitive country in comparison with the other countries in Europe or worldwide. But I think this is not enough. So technology is very important, but the technology is nothing if you don't have people that can master the technology. And when you look at the index for DESI, so it's the European index which measures what's the level of digital readiness of a country, unfortunately Italy is not doing very well. And the area in which it's doing more poorly is the technology readiness, digital readiness in terms of competencies and skills. And I think this is something that we cannot just afford, because it's a waste of talent. You know that Italy, unfortunately, is a country where there is quite a big unemployment, 11%, and also unemployment for youth. But then in this same country, we have 150,000 jobs today that we cannot cover because they require skills that people don't have. So we have unemployment, but we have jobs that we're not able to cover. So there is a mismatch. And so there is a need for improving the digital skill level of our population, from schools to university, and I think that Bocconi is doing a fantastic job even introducing new courses and somehow seeding coding to all the different courses of studies. And also we launched a number of digital classes to help people that are already in the workforce to retrain and reskill. Because today, even if you are already graduated and you're working for a company, you need to come into a state of mind that you need to continuously relearn and continuously update your knowledge to be up to date with the situation. And so I'm very proud of the fact that when we launched this set of courses, which goes under the Ambizione Italia brand, we've been able to train already in 1 year 500,000 people in Italy, and we are only getting started. So we're going to have different levels in partnership, maybe also with universities, but certainly more specifically for people that are already in the workforce. But this needs to start also with schools, so we are working also to inspire young students to think that the technology could be an area of interest, because as you probably know, only 20% of the people that go to university choose a STEM discipline, only 20%. And when we also ask to young students why, they think that they are not very strong in math, which might be even just a perception. And especially girls think that they're not maybe somehow STEM is not fascinating. They don't like it too much because they think it's for nerds. And so understanding that the technology can be something empowering, can give you the opportunity to change the world, can be something that can improve the number of students that we go into technology. And that's when, on this stage, I welcome my CEO, the worldwide CEO, Satya Nadella, and we did this Microsoft Innovation Summit here at Bocconi, and we launched the Ambizione Italia project, where we actually announced just 2 months ago that we're making a very major investment in Italy of 1.5 billion to build a data center to bring the cloud closer to Italy. And also we are investing in these digital skills programs to make sure that we can include everyone in the benefit of the digital technology. Now, I'm very proud of this program because this means that in a moment, you can imagine like the COVID, when lots of companies were retreating or even cutting investments, being able to put more investments in the country means that this creates an halo effect of about 9 billion increased investments from all the other companies that work in our ecosystem. And so to be able to put investments in the country means accelerating the digital transformation of the country, attracting more investments, and hopefully also creating more jobs in the local ecosystem. So this is about my career, and that's where I am now. And if I reflect back, there are really 3 things that I'd like to leave with you from my experience, from what I've learned throughout the years. The first one is about learning. So you're here to learn, so you're starting in the right place. But I think the important thing is that it's about keeping learning. So as the rector was saying, be curious. Challenge yourself. Maybe go and listen to courses that have nothing to do with what you're doing. Ask questions, because often people come to university and they don't know exactly what they would like to do when they grow up. And so the opportunity to understand from other people, maybe do an internship, listen to people that come from different fields, listen to alumni that come to talk about what they do for life, can inspire you and help you understand what you want to do in the future. But also, and that's the second part that I wanted to say, you will have to keep learning every day of your life. So we are in a situation where, you cannot think that once you finish your studies, you're going to be done. But you will need to keep learning new things. If I think only about what artificial intelligence is meaning for us now, and it just didn't exist in this way 5 years ago. So Bill Gates says that he spends at least an hour every day to learn new things. I don't know, I don't think I am that disciplined to do that, but to keep being curious and to keep searching for new topics, I think is key. And by the way, technology, coding, artificial intelligence is something that you should be learning from now on. The second, and I think that's more personal, is to be authentic. In a sense that I remember when I started the university, probably you don't know, there was this called Bocconiani, where almost all wearing a tie, and it was a very, almost Wall Street kind of environment. And when I looked around, there were not many CEOs that were women like me. So somehow I felt that it was going to be very difficult for a person like me to become a CEO in a large corporation, right? Because if I were looking around, I could not see anyone that looked like me or shared somehow more resemblance with what I liked, and I wanted to have a family and to be, let's say, a normal person. And I think that One of the things that is important is that, first of all, we are in a different world, so it is possible to make a career at the same time, be yourself. But I think that's really where somehow the true differentiation lies, because I think I am a better leader because I'm different, because I understand consumers in a different way because I'm different. And I think that the one thing that I hope is that you will all be able to work in companies where you can be yourself and contribute to the best of your ability. And my commitment now that I am a CEO is to create an environment where people come as they are, happy as they are, and feel that they can contribute the best because they feel accepted. And I think we are just at the beginning of not just welcoming diversity, but making it an asset, and to create an environment where you can be at your best in every moment. And I'm committed to making my part to making Italy more diverse. And gender is only one axis, there are so many others. But in general, make it more inclusive so that everyone can give their own contribution. And especially as a young person, I think it's important to make sure that when you join a company, you feel included and listened to. And so one of the things I urge you is to consider that to pick a company to work for that is going to have this kind of cultural traits to make you feel contribute at best. But then the third one that I feel more passionate about is about the mission and the sense of purpose. At the end of the day, I think that work is so important because in our life that it should at least be something that is so meaningful, that you wake up in the morning and you think you are going to contribute to make the world a better place. And you will pick which causes you are passionate about. The reason why I'm so proud and happy to do the job that I do is that I think that, maybe more, maybe less, but I'm trying to help the country to accelerate its digital process. And I think that if I can help also connect other companies, my customers, other partners, universities, and help unite all the efforts, we can actually really make an impact and create and help create the world that we can see. So for me, this is the best, let's say, wish for all of us to really find out what motivates you and to try to connect your life with your purpose and to make sure that whatever you learn, you will be able to apply and to create, to help create the world that you want to live. Thank you.
We keep distance.
Siamo distanti.
Thank you, Silvia. Thank you really, because you presented many interesting thoughts and suggestions. And well, I told our students that they have the chance to ask you some questions, but I would like to start with a question, not really original one for sure, but starting from the word from the suggestions, be authentic. And this is something that I think is very important, but it may be also difficult in a real situation. You presented your values, your environment, your ideals. But I think that you have had to face some difficulties in your career also. And well, I would like to ask you which have been the most relevant and how did you behave to overcome with this? I don't know if as a woman or in general, don't care, but...
Well, I remember that I put the be authentic point because I remember when I was young and I was starting my career, during the evaluation forms every year, there was always this topic of you're not assertive enough. And I was kind of, I found it very interesting because somehow I'm a very decisive person. But because I'm a woman, I'm blonde, and I try to be gentle, so I don't like to raise my voice, right? So I know what I want, but I try to do it in a gentle way, also because somehow there is this probably influence also from the society that what is expected from a woman, that she's gentle and sociable and so I think that
nice.
one of the things, and nice, one of the things is to find that fine line to be assertive without becoming somebody that I was not, so maintaining my real self. And finding still ways to be listened to, because you know, I mean, there are many examples, but for sure when I come in, usually they look at my right hand or left hand who's a man, thinking that he's going to be the boss, right? It still happens. So you need to find your balance to still be the person that you are, but finding your way to be still impactful and assertive.
Okay. And this is a first, I think, a very important answer. And are there any questions from the audience? There is the first one. Please present yourself and...
Yes, good evening. My name is Anita. I'm a first-year master student in economics and management for arts and culture.
Okay.
My question kind of connects to the question of the dean, but specifically I wanted to ask, what are the, let's say, structural obstacles that a woman has to face in the advancement of her managerial career, especially in the tech industries, and what is Microsoft's strategy to approach and overcome these obstacles? Thank you.
Okay, so the question was about the obstacles in the career for a woman. I would say the first thing is that, in fact, tech companies are very meritocratic. So I find tech companies in general more women-friendly than maybe some traditional companies where there is more, let's say, affiliation. So one of the things that I always say, I picked the company that I worked for because they had a culture that was somehow more open to evaluate people based on merit. So I think that's very important. And I think it's very important also that somehow I also took up challenges that were more difficult, disruptions, launching a new operator, because in those situations there is no other criteria that, you know, picking the right person to do the right job. And so I think that these are the environments where I think women, but in general talents or young people, or excel, because you have the opportunity to prove yourself and have very objective benchmarks. I think that sometimes we have this discussion with different companies, what can we do in order to increase the representation? I think it has to do not just with the company. Of course, there needs to be an understanding that not every manager needs to be like me, because usually the boss is a man, so this doesn't help. But you know, if there is an honest desire from the company to increase the representation, and I think there is. I think there is also something that we can do for the women themselves, because sometimes they think that it might not be worth going ahead in a career because finally, you know, what's the point? I will not ever progress, or I might not be good enough. So I think it's also important for women to challenge themselves and to take the opportunity to take some risks, because at the end, you know, every risk creates more opportunity to learn, and more opportunity to learn means more opportunity for a career. do not be afraid of failure. That's something that I see with women. Women always want to be perfect. Perfect is not a recipe for success.
Yeah, it's a long story, yes, in fact. And are there other questions? Maybe another one?
Hi, my name is Jacob. I'm in the Masters of Data Science and Business Analytics. You said that part of the reason why you joined or went to McKinsey was that you wanted to figure out which industry you wanted to enter. What made you choose the tech industry after that? Thank you.
At the time, I went into telco, and to be honest, I chose telcos because they were an industry that was being formed. So there was, when I joined, there was a monopoly, so TIM was the monopoly, and Omnitel was the new startup, the challenger telco. So I like the idea of coming into an industry where nothing was already decided, but you know, everything had to be built. So, and I think that disruption, of course, is complicated to manage, but it's something that usually shakes the positions and allows to create an impact. So that's why I liked it, and that's why at a certain point I decided to move from telco to tech, because telco had become a little bit more too much predictable, and tech was in that kind of for norming and storming phase.
Thank you. And other here? Or there, okay. There are two.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Luca Santillozzi, an EMIT student in Bocconi. I would like to say that I really hope to read your name followed by la nuova amministratrice delegata and not il nuovo amministratore delegato, because I think that revolution should start from words. But my question is related to innovation in Microsoft. In particular, I would like to know your personal experience also in Omnitel, if you noticed a difference on how companies, small companies and big companies face innovation, because probably Microsoft has resources, but for them it's more difficult to disrupt themselves, because when you develop a new project, sometimes it makes obsolete the previous one. So did you notice a difference in your career or in different companies, or how do you face innovation? Thank you.
So I've been working in different companies with very different styles. So when I joined Omnitel, to be honest, I was a marketing director. I did everything. So I designed products, services, advertising, how to manage customers. So, you know, it was somehow very empowering, because you design everything. So all the, let's say, research and development and product was in Italy. And then when it became Vodafone, it became more blended. And for sure in Microsoft, a lot of the deep tech in terms of the research and development gets done at the headquarter level. But I find it still very empowering, because at the end, technology, software is somehow, it's like the electrical energy. So the corporation provides you the energy, but then how you mold it, how you create those ideas, those projects that are disruptive is done here. So I still find the innovation possible and necessary everywhere. Otherwise, I would not be still here, because I find the opportunity to be an entrepreneur somehow. Then, of course, I think that's why I'm talking about digital ecosystem. I think it's very important to have startups and new ventures, because you can have maybe, you need those innovative companies, new innovative companies, to continue promote the frontier of innovation. But certain other things need to have a very large scale. So I think there is space for being innovative in both large companies and small companies, and they need each other to really excel. So I think if I think of Microsoft, for example, I think it's a great example of a company that has been been able to remain innovative in 35 plus years, which for me is a very interesting story also for all the big Italian companies or traditional companies, because it's a little bit easier to be innovative when you are a startup, 20 people, you design your ideas, when you are 120,000 people and you are very successful and you make a lot of money out of your old products, it takes more courage somehow to disrupt yourself and launch something new that will be important for the future, but it will destroy your business in the short term. So I think you can be a traditional big company, but still keep that kind of vibe, but it's difficult.
Thank you. And here we have a lot of marketing, a lot of on innovation and technology, and probably I would like to invite our rector on the stage now to move to the conclusion of the event.
Sure, and again, thank you ever so much for this beautiful talk. And we are launching our social media campaign, and I would like to show you a video and ask you a question at the end of the video. So if we can have the video right now, please. Silvia, as you know, Knowledge That Matters is our payoff since the last 4 years, because we believe that as an institution we should produce and deliver knowledge that matters through our talents in society. But in this moment, we believe that knowledge that matters for sure. It's now more than ever, but I would like to conclude by asking you this question. What for you now is more than ever, besides knowledge?
I think in this moment, my top of mind is sustainability, somehow. So I think we are in a moment where we really need to reinvent the way we do business to develop a more green footprint and green way to do business. And I think that technology can play a very strong role in finding new intelligent ways to reduce emissions. And so I think that one of the benefits of applying deep analytics, artificial intelligence, and all of that would be to reduce the need for carbon emissions.
Which makes a lot of sense. As a matter of fact, the Recovery Fund is really about digital transformation, but also about
green and competence.
More sustainable, and of course, human capital, and of course, competencies. So, thank you very much. Before a final applause, we would like to invite a student on board for a small present.
We can conclude with a big applause to Silvia. Thank you, really.
And again, thank you ever so much from all of us. And again, good luck to you all, guys. And try to work hard, be safe, respect all the rules, and we'll bump into each other in the campus with the mask. Thank you a lot, and good luck from tomorrow.
And enjoy.
Ti metto la maschera.
Per uscire devono seguire.